Hello to all my fellow beer fans. I am Wildman Wes, and this is What's Your Poison, where I find beers from all over where I can get my thirsty little fingers on. Recently, I did an episode on pop culture sour ales, and I thought to myself, well, I do have IPAs that are along the line of pop culture, but we're not going to talk about pop culture today. We're talking about hop culture. Oh gosh, dad puns are still my thing. But enough about that. We have 3 IPAs here that have some form of a pop culture reference, and we're going to try them out, and I'm going to see what they taste like. Ready? Let's begin. First up today from Hop Butcher for the World in Chicago, Illinois, we have Tree Flat. This is a 6.75% ABV. Believe it's a double dry hopped IPA. Does it say? No, it just says IPA. And it has Simcoe, Amarillo, and Idaho 7 hops in it. I've not had this one before. However, Hop Butcher for the World has made a couple appearances here on What's Your Poison, and I'm glad that I finally get a chance to try another one of their beers out on this channel. When it comes to Simcoe hops, I'm thinking a little bit of that earthy dankness. Amarillo definitely has some of that earthiness. Idaho 7, I'm not familiar with. But looking at this, it's definitely hazy. Definitely hazy, grapefruit looking. The head consistency is marshmallowy thick. I like that. Let's take a sniff. Yup, very citrusy. Mid-dank, but that's not bad at all. Here we go. Bit of a sweetness to it. A slight bite. Dry on the back end of the mouthfeel. This is very pleasant. I like this one. I like this one a lot. I wanna... Give me one more. Here we go. I get one more. I'm going to say 4.25 out of 5 on this one because even though it's 6.75% ABV, it's not very boozy. However, I feel that with the hops that are in this, it's making it a little bit more heartier than it should be. And even after a couple drinks, I'm starting to feel it a little bit. And I'm not saying that in a bad way, it's just saying this may not be a beer that you want to drink throughout the entire night because you will get bloated up a bit and you will get full. And if you're going to be eating with this, have a small portion. Apart from that, I'm going to sip on this a little bit more and we're going to go on to our next beer. But before I forget, I mentioned some sort of pop culture reference. I'm trying to figure out exactly what this one is. I see a tree with a English flat in it. My guess is, or just what my interpretation is, maybe this is what the tree should have looked like in the Lord of the Rings trilogy when the hobbits are walking with the trees or whatever it was. It's been a while since I watched those movies. So all you LOTR fans that are going to call me out on anything that I said wrong, at least I was honest and said it's been a while, so bear with me. Moving on to our next beer. Up next, a familiar face recently on What's Your Poison. From Dimensional Brewing in Dubuque, Iowa, we have Sneaky Snake. This is 6.8% in ABV, and it boasts Citra and Mosaic hops. So I'm expecting a little bit of juiciness, a little bit of dankness, and a sprinkle of that earthiness. For the pop culture part of this, or the hop culture as we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this is definitely snake characters. We have an original character. We have Sneaky from Dimensional Brewing. We also have Snake Plissken from John Carpenter's Escape From movies. We also have Wrestling Hall of Famer Jake the Snake Roberts on the other side. We've got Sam Jackson from Snakes on a Plane. We also have the late, great Black Mamba himself, Kobe Bryant. And on the bottom here from G.I. Joe, Cobra Commander. Alright, enough of the nerdy talk for a moment. It's time to crack this beer open. As I mentioned, Citra and Mosaic hops. Juicy, dank, citrusy, somewhat earthy. I'm liking how this is pouring already. Whoa! This snake gives a lot of head.
Phrasing.
I'm not even going to let this dissipate a lot because I'm thirsty. And this is definitely a hazy IPA, as the beer suggests on the label, being a double dry hopped. I'm expecting it to be fairly hearty, hopefully not as filling as the last one, but at the same time, pleasurable. It smells fairly similar to our last beer. There almost smells like a maltiness to this, so that is my impression. The Mosaic hop is giving it a little bit more of that density of earthiness. So, time to get sneaky snake. For being roughly about the same ABV as our last beer from Hop Butcher for the World, this one, the body is lighter. It definitely is, and maybe it's because there's not as many hops in this one. I've realized that with IPAs, the more hops you put into it, the heavier it's going to feel. And this one, I like this one a lot. Definitely with that malt backbone almost to this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say 4.5 out of 5. This one definitely is a slight step above the tree flat that we just recently had. I'm going to sip on this a little bit more, and we're going to go on to our last beer for the day. Closing out our lineup for Hop Culture from Pipeworks Brewing in Chicago, Illinois, we have Cow versus Unicorn. This is 8.6% in ABV, and it is a double IPA brewed with Citra, Mosaic, Simcoe, and Amarillo hops, and also brewed with lactose. When it comes to the pop culture reference, I'll be honest, I kind of liked how the can looked, so I'm phoning this one in. However, as a byproduct of the 80s, there was a franchise that could kind of coincide with this. From my generation, do you ever remember the Wuzzles? There we go, there's my member-berry moment. Where two animals, you put them together and you get a Bumbalion or something like that. In this case, you would get a Unicow or a Counicorn, I don't know. Let's just drink the beer. I'm not gonna deal with that because that's just gonna be a buzzkill for me. So pouring this already, we're not getting as much haze, obviously, from our last two. Very, very clean. Yeah, definitely clean. And the head consistency, very light, especially for an 8.6% ABV and a double IPA. That's interesting for me. I'm used to the head consistency being a little bit more frothy or a little bit more on that marshmallow style. Let's take a sniff real quick. Something don't seem right about this smell. You know, when it comes to having so many hops in a beer, I talk about the filling when you drink it being a little bit off. The smell on this one, it smells like a Pilsner. That is some weird stuff right there. Well, I'm committed. Here we go. Wow, smells can be deceiving. You can almost feel that the smell on this one almost smells like a farm, a barn, all that. But this, the flavor, hang on a sec, I get another one. That is hoppy. It's very hoppy. Slightly heavy, not too heavy, but it's a little boozy for 8.6%. I do appreciate what Pipeworks does with their lineups of beers, and especially with their IPAs. On this one, definitely a one and done, but it's worth having that one and done. I would recommend getting this at a tap room where you can get one without having to buy a 4-pack of this. When it comes to the grade for this, I want to say 4 out of 5. And a lot of that is because there is some deception when it comes to the aroma profile as well as the mouthfeel. You're not expecting a lot of an IPA when you do a 3-sniff or a drive-by smell. However, when you do take a sip, the front end and the back end of the mouthfeel does have those hops. However, it messes with you a little bit, and I don't know if it's for better or worse. However, I still recommend it because the flavor is fairly decent. We hope you enjoyed this episode on the Hopped Culture lineup of IPAs. If you've had these before and you agree with me, leave a thumbs up. And if not, I totally understand. If there are things that you liked about some of the beers that I didn't, or vice versa, put in that comment section below. I'm really interested to see what you have to say about stuff like this. Because, unfortunately, in this day and age, we're living in a world with a lot of negative energy and a lot of just negative feelings. However, if there's one thing I know for sure, we can all come together at some point and commiserate over a tasty beverage. Apart from that, make sure you share on social media, but most importantly, you hit that subscribe button. And make sure you check out my boy Hefe at Beer You Beer Me, as well as Beard Wizard Man for all their beer-related content. And of course, let's not forget the Blue Ribbon Lounge podcast. They have a lot of great topics to talk about. Whether you're into them or not, they have something for everybody. And I appreciate that because it inspires me to do a lot of things that bring a lot of people together, even on this channel. Until then, I'm Wild Man Wes, and we will see you next time. Take care, and as always, cheers.
What's your poison? Let's drink it tonight. In the glow of the stars, everything.